Welcome back to NPC Stories. What do you do if you want to create a character that doesn't quite exactly fit the specifications listed in all of these books? Well, you can Google it and see if someone else has made something, or you can make it up yourself. Now, if you're not into making things yourself, there are a lot of resources out there for you, from the Unearthed Arcana from Wizards of the Coast, or the D&D Homebrew Wiki has a lot of stuff on it, and D&D Beyond Beta just released their Homebrew Items and Monsters section. Some of this material is more balanced than others, which is why I like to test them out with NPCs before I let my players get their hands on them. I only have 2 characters for you today, but they come with a new race, a new subclass, and 2 new monsters. Lady Shalendra Neradon was the Fey patron to my party's Warlock PC. I say was because he died. Sorry, Istar. But that does mean that we can now talk about his lovely lady patron. Lady Shalendra Neradon is what is known as a gentry Fey. The gentry are nobility amongst both the seelie and unseelie. They love all things beautiful and magical, and most of all, they love themselves. They are naturally gifted with illusion magics and, like their elven descendants, immune to being charmed or put to sleep. They live so long that many races believe they are immortal. This is not true, but they're not going to tell anybody that. Being so long-lived, they must find a myriad of ways to entertain themselves. Often this is by interfering with mortal lives and striking deals with them. Gentry Fae cannot speak a lie, but are masters of manipulating the truth. Lady Neradon is the younger sister to the king of the Unseelie court. Both courts operate under a matriarchy, but her brother hid her away until he was able to take the throne for himself. Lady Neradon has never forgiven him for this fact, but she is patient and lies in wait for the opportune moment to seek her revenge. Like most Fae, she oozes beauty and charm, but if you slight her in any way, the last thing that you will remember is fear and pain. Fae are some of my favorite creatures to describe with their eerily perfect beauty. It's a really great opportunity to get flowery with your language. Lady Neradon is a tall, slender woman with long, wavy hair the color of coffee and chocolate. Her features are almost elven, but somehow sharper and too perfectly beautiful, with high cheekbones and curving brows over warm brown eyes. She carries herself with pride, grace, and confidence, and wears a dress made from layers of gossamer in shades of silver, black, and midnight blue, woven with fine mithril chain. Lady Neradon is an archfey, one of the most powerful and in some cases almost deific beings amongst the Fae. They are legendary creatures, and I crafted their stats from a mixture of sorcerer and warlock abilities. They are generally not the sort of creatures to stand and fight, much preferring to charm or intimidate their enemies into cooperation, and if that doesn't work, vanishing in a cloud of mist. Lady Neradon is proud and selfish, rarely doing anything that would benefit anybody except herself. Nianike Lukelusa is a half-elf ranger. She was born into the Rava and trained with them, though she never felt particularly attached to their war. However, she excelled as a hunter, and it was determined that she would be a good fit to bond with a beast companion. She traveled deep into the forest to perform the ritual, but before she could find a spot that called to her, she came across an abandoned nest of tiny dragon-like creatures. So instead of spending her time to find a beast to bond with, she cared for the little wormlets until they were strong enough to fend for themselves. When at last she performed the ritual to bond with a creature, no beast answered her call. Instead, she found the little red dragonette staring up at her. And he's so cute! So when she went back to the Rava, he and his nestmates went with her. She and her new companions were received with curious caution, but Nianike only felt like more of an outsider. She took what she needed and left the forest, but found that humans were no more welcoming. In the end, she left all people behind, traveling to the unforgiving Storm Peak Mountains, where she could be alone and at peace with her little dragon family. She has recently added a new member to her flight, a white guard drake whose egg she found all alone in an empty cave in the mountains. Nianike is average height and build with auburn hair and blue-gray eyes. She wears silver dragon scale mail that she acquired from one of her mentors, a dragon named Parma. It keeps her safe from most of the mountain chill, but she still wears hide and fur layers over it. Her favorite weapon is a heavy crossbow, but for melee purposes she has 2 pickaxes. Her dragonettes look like tiny chromatic dragons. Urwa is her red dragonette companion, then there is Nasta, who is white, Ramo and Kali are blue, and Olos, her white guard drake. Dragonettes are very similar to pseudo-dragons as they are descended from them, but unlike their more playful, passive cousins, they are fierce protectors with the gift of dragon's breath. They're kind of like chihuahuas in the sense that they are tiny, but have the attitude of a much bigger dragon. Her dragonettes are a bit more civil, having been hand-raised, but they are still guarded around strangers. Olos the guard drake is a loyal and protective brute of a beast, but still the baby of the family. Nyanike definitely prefers the company of dragons to people, but she has a soft heart and a sort of motherly instinct to help those in need, especially if they seem weak, helpless, or just dumb, like most people who wander into the Storm Peaks. Life in the mountains is difficult, and she has had many near-death experiences. However, this has not made her more cautious, just better educated about the dangers around her. She is happy to share both her stories and her wisdom with anyone who wants to hear it. And there are some homebrew characters. Now, there is a lot going on down in the doobly-doo today. There is Lady Neridon and Nyanike's character sheets, along with Urwa's stat block, as he is her companion. In addition, there is an Archfey monster stat block, racial information for the Gentry Fae, and the Dragon Master Ranger subclass, which includes the stat blocks for the Dragonettes. I made this subclass to go with the revised Ranger from Unearthed Arcana, not the original Ranger class from the Player's Handbook. And if you are looking for Guard Drake stats, they are in Volo's Guide to Monsters. As always, I hope this was somehow helpful or inspiring to you. You can let me know by liking this video, or you can find me on Twitter at NPC Stories. If you want to see more NPCs in the future, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Join me next week as we talk about family members.